Welcome to the Mark Workman Show and the Pioneer Mind podcast. I'm so glad to have you back, and I appreciate you guys joining us each week. And some of the programs that I've done and shows I've done with the oil field have gone on very well. But this is our regular show that we do with Kathy, my best half, in our health Thursdays or whatever. We haven't even named it yet, so we still haven't gotten name suggestions where we want to name this show, but at some point we're going to name the show. But really the goal of what we're doing here is to promote this idea of health in just the right way, creating a balance in our life with our diet, with our exercise and all those kind of things. And the focus of this, these specific shows that we do with Kathy is the idea that insulin resistance and, just our diets and a lot of the things going on in our lives are diet onset symptomology or whatever that make us sick, and when we start looking at our diet, what we eat and how we organize our fuel, our metabolic health, that's the energy we put in. And then the metabolic health part of it is how our body uses energy and what it has to do with it. And what we've talked about in previous shows is that we're putting way too much fuel in, so it gets to the point where the body just doesn't know what to do with it. And that's where a lot of the complications show up. In this podcast, I'm really interested in trying to promote the pioneer mindset. I get asked all the time why I don't do politics, because that's an interest of mine, is trying to understand kind of our leadership, what we're doing, and the cultural things. But really, I want to be positive and be looking forward, because I want to promote young people and others that are really trying to be different, trying to be innovative, trying to be pioneers, stepping out of what they know, going into what they don't know, not even knowing the risks a lot of times. And we need people to rise up and start leading in their own lives, being pioneers of their own lives. And really, when you look at it throughout all of history, you can go as far back as you want. Nothing was ever started without a pioneer. The pioneers are the start of every story, of every innovation, of everything. So we need to rise this idea up, and that's really what I want to focus on. Like I said, I get asked about politics, but I just don't think the answer's there. It's really individuals choosing to kind of improve their own lives and start stepping out into things they don't know, to create new things that are really beneficial to everybody, not just themselves. So, well, today's show, we're going to be talking about diabetes. And it seems like it's an obvious choice for us to be doing in terms of the overall diet. And when you look at diabetes and what's going on, I got a few statistics for us here. I just pulled some stuff up for 2026. Let me just tick off some things. It's pretty fascinating. And I did compare them to previous years in 2021. As of 2026, 15.8% of adults, roughly 40 million people, live with diabetes. And this is type 1, not type 2. And up to 90% of people in the country have type 2 diabetes markers, with 40% or 50% of those people diagnosed and 40% not diagnosed. They're living with it. They don't even realize they have it. So it's pretty fascinating to me that, they don't even realize they're kind of heading down this road with type 2 diabetes. But when you look at the previous years, in 2021, it was 12.4%. It's now at 15.8, like I just read. So the trend isn't getting better. The trend is getting more challenging. We're seeing an increase in this really destructive disease, and the costs are absolutely astronomical. And the fastest growing group is 18 to 44. You would think it's maybe older folks or whatever, but that younger group, 18 to 44, is the fastest growing segment of our population that is dealing with diabetes. And I'm talking type 1 in these stats, but type 2's got to be on the rise too, or the highest, So, and then when you look at the economic impact, and this is something Kathy and I talk about a lot of times, is that, people will say, I got health insurance and I spend money on whatever, to go to the doctor and there's nothing wrong with that. We're not poo-pooing that. But the thing of it is that you spend a fortune on going to the doctor and insurance premiums, but we don't really spend, when we start counting the cost, when we talk about what we're going to put into our own body and our own health, the workout gym, oh, that's too expensive, or eating the proper foods, oh, that's too expensive. We really are interested in how we can kind of twist this idea of cost. But in diabetes, you find out that $458 billion is spent on diabetes care every year in this country, and that's only rising. And if you have diabetes or are into the type 2 diabetes realm, you spend 2.6 times more on your health care than a person that doesn't have diabetes. So it's very costly to not kind of tackle this problem as a culture and as an individual. And really, it all starts with our food. So really, it's kind of astounding that we don't spend more time on it. But today's subject is diabetes. That's just a few stats. I mean, it's unbelievable when you actually look down through the chart that I found, how devastating this is and how it's really affecting every family, and really on the type 2 diabetes side, because of the way our culture eats, it's almost every American. It's really kind of crazy. So welcome, Kathy. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about diabetes today. And so here we go. So this is an important topic, isn't it?
It is a very important topic, and we're kind of programmed to, think that we hear these stats a lot and that you might catch this. I guess I used to think we might catch cancer, we might catch diabetes. And I guess the more I find out about the root of it, it encourages me that we do have a lot more power than we think we have. And so reading these stats obviously is quite depressing. But when you look at, we're 50 years into the processed foods. In the 70s, they started legislating different things. Our parents were probably kind of the last era of people that were eating whole natural foods. And then the 70s and 60s and 70s, we started doing a lot of the processed food, taking the fibers out, which is just a big part of our gut health. Taking out the salt, adding preservatives back in. Processing, marketing, have a lot more access to all of these things. And so now we're 50 years into it. So to see these younger kids exponentially, it's because that's all they've known,
Right. And I could remember my dad kind of struggled with diabetes, the type 2 side. He could eat himself into oblivion, and it would show up in his feet, the soreness, and he had all kinds of ailments, as you know. And then as soon as he'd kind of buckle down and knock off the food, all of a sudden his numbers were good and the diabetes gone, his feet felt great, and he was able to walk. So it was totally a food related.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle thing. And, if you go to your doctor, they're going to tell you you can manage it for life, but they don't even let you know that you can reverse it.
Right.
And so, it's a lifestyle onset disease. So, which is great because now we can reverse the lifestyle and get off of it.
That's exactly right. Well, I'm going to pull up the problem and we're going to start there. And again, this is a slide we show quite often on the show simply because it is an indicator of all the things related to metabolic health, right? Yeah. So, again, you can go off your chart there in front of you, but let's just talk about the problem.
Well, the problem obviously is great big. And if you look at the stats on the side, 93% of American adults, and these are just the adults, these aren't the children, but they're in there too, are metabolically unhealthy. And if you look over at all of these different things on this little wheel, we have, obesity, diabetes, cancer, PCOS, fatty liver, heart disease, blood sugar, Alzheimer's, migraines, erectile dysfunction, neuropathy, skin issues, psoriasis, all of these things. And it feels overwhelming. Like, how in the world are we ever going to conquer all these things? But if you go into your medical professional, they're going to break you into body parts and give you a specialist. That specialist knows exactly what pill to give you for the symptom. They aren't telling you they're going to heal anything. They're telling you they're going to manage it. So they're managing our symptoms. But if we can look at that root, the root cause is the same, which to me is super encouraging, because if all we have to do is target one thing instead of 50 different things, that's the exciting piece.
So is there a reason that diabetes is at the top center of that? Is it the central focus, or is it the highest prevalence of insulin resistance? Does that make sense what I'm asking? Like, are the other ones periphery, or are they all kind of really?
No, I think they're all intertwined. I think, obviously if you have cancer, that's your big deal. If you have PCOS, that's your big deal. But again, like you said, 40% of the people aren't diagnosed. And we just learned to live with feeling icky, and that's normal. I'm talking to these young kids that have no energy, they feel bloated, they're gassy, their guts are messed up, and that's normal for them. We've normalized feeling icky. So you might not even know you have the type 2 diabetes because everybody feels the same way, and because we're all eating the same fuel.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. If you were diagnosed with diabetes, type 1, type 2, or whatever, and you were heading down that road, what would be some of the first things you would do if you knew that was on your radar now?
Well, because I know, I understand insulin resistance, and I want to just flip to the next side of the solution so people can see what happens when we're eating constantly and your insulin is high. Your cells can't absorb all of that energy, so they become resistant. And that's what insulin resistance is. The cells can't take the energy, so now your body insulin has to get rid of it somewhere, so it starts storing it in your liver. So if your question was, if I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes today, what would I do? Well, the first thing I would do 5 things. I'm going to start at the bottom first. And the first thing would be, let's cut out the fruits and grains at breakfast time, because those are spiking that insulin from the get-go. And if you've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, the number one organ is your liver, and your liver is full. By the time you get diagnosed, that's what it's telling you, is like, liver is full. And so in order to give that liver a break, we need to stop eating, let your body start using some of the stored fat, and your liver actually converts fat to glucose or ketones, which is what we call ketosis.
Right. So the grains in the morning, but so would there be an alternative to that? Like you and I always try to start with proteins and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But would you, and I know on this protocol with the Unicity and the Feel Great system, they really want to promote an intermittent fasting thing, but I don't think that's as required as you think. I mean, you should intermittent fast. I think it's good for you, but I think just changing the food is absolutely the first start, wouldn't you say? Because everyone wants to focus on the intermittent fasting part sometimes.
Well, I'm going to give you 5 things that I would do if I was diagnosed. So number 1, breakfast is huge, because how you start your day, if you're going to spike your blood sugar right off the bat, you're setting yourself up for failure. Your body is now and just got to burn all those carbs all day. It can never get to that burning that excess fuel or on the liver, through the liver. So the number 2 thing that I would do is I would start resistance training right away. Okay. And because we know that 80% of our glucose is used by muscle, and a lot of that is our sedentary lifestyles are also really harming us because we're not using that muscle. And I always like to think of that muscle as like, I always hear it going, you can just hear it using the glucose. And so,
I gotcha. So it's going to use that energy first.
It's going to use that energy first. And so that lowers your blood sugar level when you're using those muscles. So that's why they say a lot of times, just every time after you've eaten, do some squats, go for a quick walk, because that engages those muscles. And so that's a big deal. That's also a big deal of why, maybe this is a little rabbit trail, but for people doing the GLP-1s, 40% of the weight they're losing is muscle mass. And that's why that is so dangerous for them. Is they're losing muscle, then you're losing what's actually burning. So when you do start eating again, you have nothing to burn it. So it all goes back to storage. So that's number 2. Number 3 is knowing what I know about fiber. I would add fiber to every meal, because fiber is what brings that matrix down. It brings the blood sugars down. So when you're talking about, let's just use for an example, a package of taco chips, and they're the low carb, what they really are is high fiber. So I might have 20 carbs in there, but I have 15 fiber. So now I only have the impact of 5 carbs versus eating taco shells that have 24 carbs. Sure. So because we've taken the fiber out of our meals, that's what I would add the fiber back, whether that's going to be in your vegetables, those got a lot of fiber in it. Even your fruit has fiber in it. But because it's also full of sugar, I would have it at the end of your meal. But adding that fiber back in is really important. And I think that's why one of the main reasons that Unicity is has such success is because it's just sticking with these basics.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, it's rocket science, and then it's not rocket science.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Like, again, when we kind of started getting onto this, 10 or more years ago about different things, and again, we weren't where we are now with what we're doing and how our lifestyle is, but we were starting that process. But it really should have been obvious to us then, but it still wasn't.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not rocket science, but it kind of is for people. Like, they're just not going to hear it.
Well, and let me I got this in the mail, and most people wouldn't notice this, but so this is an advertisement.
Okay.
And we're posting, these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We're showing you what you can pack for your kids. You're packing diabetes in a lunchbox, and they're acting like this is organic or what's it say on here? Made good because it's granola. Well, all of these grains spike your blood sugar. And so we're sending our kids to school on a sugar high.
Right.
And then they crash, and then we feed them again. And, we wonder why they're having learning disabilities and learning issues when your blood can handle 1 teaspoon of sugar at a time. And as I look at any of these, I'll bet most of them are at least 10 to 20 teaspoons of sugar in just the snacks.
Right.
And no nutritional value.
Right.
So now they're still hungry.
Right. Right.
So back to the other thing that I would do, the fourth thing that I would do is I would prioritize protein with every single meal also. And it's that protein that's going to protect your lean muscle mass. Your body needs that protein. Protein does not spike your blood sugar. And so that's going to keep those blood sugars level. And that's the big goal, is giving your body the nutrients it needs so it's not craving all of the things that are available. And the most things that are most readily available are high in carb, and the sugars. And then the most important thing of all, I'd just say, stop snacking. There's no such thing as a healthy snack.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can eat some things like, have a boiled egg or whatever. But mostly, if you're prioritizing your protein and your fiber, you shouldn't be having the snackies because it's sugar breeds sugar, and those cravings just fuel one another. Yeah, and we've been
told, I know I've heard even in college that if I eat 6 to 8 meals a day, more often, smaller meals, that was even back in college during basketball years and all sports years, and then again, it wasn't protein either. It was totally 100% carbs and pastas and, way back when.
Yeah, we fed our kids carb load before the ball games. But the difference was they were working it off. But we have had a lot of misinformation about carbohydrates. And I used to tell people, you got to keep adding fuel, so keep that metabolism burning. And that's a lie. It just keeps that insulin spiked and keeps you hungry all the time, and you got the food noise going on. So, and anytime we're snacking, we're just keeping that glucose and insulin up. And when you, again, understand how if we can get that insulin low, that's when the fat can go. That's when your body can burn from storage from the pantry. But we just keep filling the pantry, and never go back to burn it. But our body is designed to be metabolically flexible.
Right. So you're saying, too, if it's meant to be metabolically flexible, we're creating a situation with our diet to not be flexible.
Exactly.
We're becoming stiff.
We're stuck in sugar mode. Your body's just trying to burn the sugar, and your insulin is trying to figure out where to put all the excess.
Gotcha.
And when it does that, it's creating an energy shortage in your body. So you're shorting out because those cells aren't releasing that energy. They're tight. They're resistant. So now maybe I'm not getting energy to the brain. I got brain fog. Alzheimer's is actually a type 3 diabetes. We're just starving our brain because the energy's not getting up there. You might be having, that's what the erectile dysfunction is. The cells aren't getting power to the pole. Neuropathy, you're not getting power to the basement. And so all of these little symptoms that we're having are really caused by, again, the exciting thing is it's one thing. And if we could, and I know it feels overwhelming, like, what am I going to have to give up? But I think the bigger thing is, what do we have to gain? We're always protecting the thing that makes us miserable. And if we just kind of start taking charge and just start reading labels and trade out one item for a different item. Today I was in the grocery store and I was just looking at the backs of peanut butter, and you start looking at it. Okay, it's just peanuts. That's it. Cool. That's peanut butter. You look at some of the other ones, it's peanuts, it's oil, it's sugar, it's all these different things. You're like, oh, that's really creamy. And I kind of like that one. But when you start switching them over, your taste buds change about every 2 weeks. Your taste buds start changing. So now all of a sudden, and I think you said it yesterday, because we used to be steak sauce barbecue people, and you said, oh, it's just the taste of the meat with a little bit of seasoning on it is so much better and richer.
Yeah, I've been going that way with salad dressings and all of that, where I'm just dropping the dressings altogether because I love salads. I can't stand making them. I wish I had a chef to make my salads, but I've kind of gone away from that, and I've also, just like the steak things you mentioned, a good old garlic pepper and a little bit of salt. And, it's unbelievable. A little rosemary on there with the steak. You can't buy a sauce that's going to get tasty that good.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, and I think the sauces, because we've had so much sugar and we're on this dopamine rush all the time, that we always have to add more sugar to get that dopamine. And so when you can kind of get that out of your palate, now you taste the food, you taste the vegetables.
Right.
And I think I even had you say that years ago when you started eating vegetables. I can't imagine I could ever crave a salad, but I'm craving a good salad.
It's the truth. I absolutely, and I've said this 100 times, is that for me, there's times when I just, and I do like salads. Like I don't like making them, but I do crave them. There's a lot of times I could just eat a great salad when they're made well and they're fresh. Oh my gosh, it's the best.
Yeah.
So,
but when we understand that type 2 diabetes is that lifestyle disease, which is great news because we can fix it with lifestyle. And again, we're going to hear David's testimony in a little bit. And it was so exciting when I found out about Unicity and I went to a conference and started hearing people's testimonies. I just realized myself that I've been so programmed to accept sickness and disease that when people started saying, hey, I used to have this and now I'm well, it's almost like it was that skepticism, like, oh yeah, right. And, but now the more I've been in the Unicity and watching more and more people transform their lives and get their health back, that's what I want to be a part of, is normalizing healthy.
Yeah, and that's really helped me, just being in the home with you and as a husband and being around what you're working on. And it's super encouraging in the sense of I probably was a little bit of a skeptic going into Unicity, drinking a tea and then having fiber before your biggest meal and intermittent fasting. And it just seemed so simple and, all those kind of things. So I was and I'm not being negative here. Hope you don't take it that way.
No.
I was just a little bit of a skeptic about it at first, but over now we've been a year now, maybe you've been involved
about July last year.
July last year, and what we've seen is testimony after testimony, which we're getting ready to share one of an acquaintance of yours. I've not met him, you have, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, but it's just, I just think those testimonies become powerful because they are eyewitnesses to their own life.
Yep.
And all the naysayers and everyone says that they don't believe it or whatever, that's them making excuses to stay where they're at.
Right.
Right?
Well, I understand there's a lot of fluff out there. I get that. I understand that. And, but I just want to encourage people, if you're skeptical, great. That's where we all started, was skeptical. And I've been a part of protocols and things that are, hey, you better mark this, you check this, you don't step outside the guidelines. It's almost like we've made things, they're only valuable if they're hard. And I would say the downside of Unicity is it's so easy that people go, well, wait a minute, that's too easy.
Right.
Which is the best side of it. And the worst side is that it's just so easy. But also this great piece of it is try it for 90 days. If you don't have some measurable change, and when I say measurable, I'm testimonies of people that are dropping their A1C 2 points from one doctor's visit to another doctor's visit. Right. And the doctor's like, wow, I've never seen that. So measurable results would be your A1C coming down, your waistband coming down, just your mood going up, your feel good. And I can't promise you what it's going to do to your body because everybody's bodies are different. But some people, dropping the weight, others like, okay, I haven't dropped weight yet, but I feel so good. And I think the body is healing whatever has been broken. And then the weight comes for some people, they lose it a little bit later on. But getting the inflammation out of the body, getting your blood sugars level, really working on the insulin resistance is the answer, not just to diabetes. It's to all of those things on that wheel.
Right.
And so,
well, let's listen to Dave's testimony.
Yeah, you'll be excited about it.
And the truth of it is, though, is like, and what I'm going to clarify what the Feel Great system is. It's the Feel Great system. It's not a weight loss system. Weight loss is a part of feeling great.
Yeah.
But so is sleep. So is no joint pain. So is getting rid of skin tags. So energy, all those things. It's the whole pie. I always use a pie program.
Everybody uses food.
Yeah. Well,
icing on a cake.
I know, but I always say that's just one slice of the pie. Yeah. There's other slices involved with our wholeness, and I always talk about that. But the truth of it is this, we don't want to call this a weight loss program. This is a Feel Great program.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, and
those the weight, when I was always dealing with weight loss, the weight was just a symptom of a bigger problem. So this is digging up some roots, healing some roots.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well,
listen to David. He's pretty exciting to listen to his story.
Here we go.
It's been 527 days since I was lifeless at 247 pounds. Type 2 diabetic. My A1C was 8.9. Now it's under 5. I've lost over 80 pounds. I've reversed type 2 diabetes. It's been 527 days since I've been living type 2 diabetic free. My cholesterol was off the charts for 15 years. My A1C was 8.9. I had type 2 diabetes. I was dying. My blood pressure was 220/180. And all of my lab work shows all this. And now all my lab work, the doctor says, David Whitmeyer, your lab work is as of a perfect human being. Everything has completely reversed. And it's been reversed for 527 days as of today. Congratulations to me. So can you do it. You can do the same thing. Only thing you got to do is make your mind up. And this can be your 527 days. Know your worth, and don't let anyone tell you that it's genetics. It's just lifestyle. Know your worth.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
It is good. Yeah.
And his whole family is joining him. He's got his wife and his daughter and his son, and they've all lost. I don't know what the total amount is, but I actually met David in line at the lunch line when I was in Vegas. And that to me was such a life transformational. Like I said, hearing so many testimonies of people getting well, wanting to normalize that. And he had that same energy. He just thought he was doomed. It's genetic. I have type 2 diabetes. It's genetic. So for you out there that it's going through your bloodlines, it's going through your habit lines, but you don't have to live with it. And I was telling you about when I was in the airport, and this lady's telling me how she helps people. She teaches blind people how to read. And I'm thinking, well, that's pretty out there. And then she wants to know what I'm doing. I go, well, I help people reverse their type 2 diabetes. And she just got so mad. You can't reverse type 2 diabetes. And I go, now type 1 is a different story, but type 2. And she goes, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I'm like, well, okay, keep your diabetes.
It's total diet onset.
Yeah,
symptomology, right? 100%.
Yeah. And I guess for me personally, this insulin resistance, and I was always, that's for diabetics. That's for diabetics. It doesn't run in my family. We've never been diagnosed. I'm not saying it probably hasn't been in my family, just looking back at how we've eaten and, thinking we're eating well, we're eating our granolas, getting our grains in, lots of fruits and all of those things, and drinking juice and not pop, but all of those things spike your blood sugar. And again, looking at how even my parents, some of my own health issues, having my gallbladder out, 45 pounds heavier at one time, still being very active and trying to balance this stuff out, eating homemade breads and all of these things that we think are healthy. And then you start recognizing, oh my goodness, it's hidden in everything. And it's the flour and the sugar that's the carbs. It's not just, people will say, oh, I don't eat any sugar. And I did a thing on my YouTube the other day about just quinoa. We think quinoa sounds so healthy. It's
a great name.
Well, 1 cup of quinoa has 47 grams of sugar, which is 47 grams of carbs, which always converts. Every teaspoon of sugar has 4 grams. So 10 teaspoons of sugar. You would never just put that on your plate
Never.
and eat it, but we do it all the time. This is 46 teaspoons or over a cup of sugar every day that we, average American, is eating, from a small child to an adult. And remember, hey, Kool-Aid? Oh my goodness. That was probably the beginning of, all the sugar drinks and drinking so much of it and eating it.
Well, let's look at the solution. Mm-hmm. And you can maybe talk about the 2 products and the protocol and that kind of thing. But let's go ahead and look at that. It's up on the screen for everybody at home. So you can...
The solution is this. It's a nutraceutical product. It was actually designed in the 80s by Rexall Drug. It is in the physician's desk reference. They now call it the physician's digital reference. I would say 99.9% of them don't know that it's in there. Cleveland Clinic has done a number of different studies. It's like I said, over 20 different clinical studies showing that this product is effective. Therefore, it's a nutraceutical. It actually, like a pharmaceutical, is a fake ceutical, and this is natural. There are no side effects. It's in 50 different countries. It's patented, and it's got that 90-day guarantee that I told you about. So it's just simply drinking 2 of these teas a day. I've got my big jug here. I keep my tea going. This is going to boost your natural GLP-1, which is the hormone in your gut that says you're full. So the food noise is gone. You're not hungry all day.
Show the products again. So,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just the 2 packets.
Yep, 2 packets, and we're doing 2 of these a day. And it lowers your inflammation, naturally lowers your inflammation. The way they process it, it makes the chlorogenic acid 375 times stronger than any other product on the market. And that's what's going to go in and soften those resistant cells. Now the cells go, okay, I can relax now. Energy can start flowing again, and that's that reversal of the type 2. So now your cells are pliable, your insulin levels come down, your pancreas is resting. We're seeing so much more pancreatic cancer just because we're using that pancreas so much more. And then this one is what you're going to take before your largest meal of the day, and that's the fiber, that fiber matrix. You're going to mix it up, and it's going to get thick like an applesauce. But it's not just one fiber. A lot of the fibers you buy on the market are one single fiber.
Usually what? Just psyllium husk or something?
Yeah, psyllium, corn, whatever they've got. Yeah,
Right.
This has got 7 to 9 different plant fibers, and there's different microbiome in your gut. If you think of your gut as like a zoo, and I go, well, I'm just feeding my zoo bananas. Well, that's great for the monkeys, but the lions die.
Right.
And that's exactly what happens in our gut. And as they process the food, they pulled out so much of the food for the zoo. And so by adding these packet back in with the variety, you're healing the gut. The other cool thing is we're not just seeing reversal of type 2 diabetes, but people are getting off their anxiety and their depression medication because 90% of serotonin is made in the gut.
Right.
You're going to go into your doctor and they're going, well, you're kind of depressed and your serotonin's off. Your brain chemistry is off. We're going to put you on a pill. Well, the brain chemistry is made in the gut. Mm-hmm. So if we can heal the gut, we can see people get off of their medications and balance those things out. So it's pretty exciting. Like I said, it's almost too simple, and that's where we all get a little bit skeptical. And I just encourage you to embrace your skepticism, give it a try.
Right. And I'm going to put up a quick sheet here for people they can get an overview of this, and we can actually send this to you, email it to you, but there's a QR code on here you can pull off the screen even if you want, kind of for the best price. But this sheet here, is Kathy's basically outlined the problem and the solution all on one page. And if you're interested in giving it a try, like she said, it's a 90-day guarantee back, no questions asked. If you don't see results, you don't see something that makes this valuable to you, there's no problem because there's we don't care. No one cares. We want you to be helped, and if this doesn't help, then we get it. But on there is a QR code. You can follow that, get to the best price. And any comments on this, Kathy?
I just giggle when I look at this lack of energy. I hear from a number of people like, oh, this energy. One gal was telling me, well, it's kind of interrupting my sleep. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? She goes, well, I used to sleep all day. And so she's now up and able to get things done around the house. And she's a mom of little kids. And,
sure.
Hearing them, I just have energy to spend time with my kids. That's huge. And that age group shouldn't be dealing with that. But when we understand how much of the sugar and the crashes they have, because what goes up has to come down. So
right. Well, it again, you can't minimize the effect of diabetes on the culture. Like I mentioned earlier about the cost to healthcare and to our costs and what Americans are spending on just trying to take care of symptoms.
Yeah.
Where in this show and what you're trying to do is we're really trying to get to the point where we're encouraging people to get to the root.
Yeah.
And we know it's diet onset. We know it's food related. We know that we have to develop self-control. We have to be able to
I just posted a thing yesterday that babies are born ketogenic. They're born to drink their mother's milk.
Right.
Well, we give them formula that has sugar in it.
Right.
So now, boop, their little dopamine's going, their taste buds are all so we're programming for it. One of the things I did want to mention on this is it is health savings qualified. So if you have a health savings account, this will actually improve your health.
Sure.
So
well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good add on there because I think I knew that. I just didn't. That's good for you to mention those things because everyone has a little different situation, right? So when you talk to them, it's almost everyone's financial situation, home situation, work situation. Everything's so different, and this kind of what's nice about this as a lifestyle. Because I believe in lifestyle changes, not systematic rule changes.
Yeah.
I don't believe in rules. Not in the sense of against rules, but just the idea that my life needs to be a lifestyle. I need to be able to do it without thinking. Automatic thinking, basic habits should be formed. So that's really my driver for my own life, and that's the way I would even approach this.
Well, most people do that. They drive by the coffee shop.
Exactly.
They drive by it's a habit. These are less than $2 a packet. So if I'm replacing that coffee drive-by, I'm replacing, some of the other drinks that we used to buy at the house that we no longer buy. I'm not snacking in between meals. I mean, it really is cost neutral. And so if you're thinking you can't afford it, I would say you can't afford not to at least try it.
Yeah, there's a quote by Epictetus that I want to put up here real quick. And basically, no man is free who's not a master of himself. And I think, again, we want to focus on a set of structures outside of ourselves, even the Feel Great system maybe, as the source for this. But really the beginning to choose, I'm going to choose the Feel Great system. I'm going to choose Unicity as this thing that's going to help me change the internals. The borders I put around my mind about having self-control over my food. This, like you said, it helps with the cravings. It helps with so many things. And then you start seeing almost instant results in terms of weight loss and feeling better, sleeping better. And all that stuff becomes an encouragement to, okay, self-control and borders around what I'm eating is really a good thing.
It's really good. Yeah. Good health snowballs and bad health snowballs.
Yeah. So,
and really right here, what goes in there is really all we have to control.
The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so he is, and you talk to a lot of people, and I always tell you within 5 minutes, I can know quite a bit about somebody, just simply the way they talk about themselves, and I think in terms of this health side where, I'm just stuck. I can never get out of this. This is the way I'm going to be the rest of my life. There's no changing it. My dad was this way. Whatever messages they put in their head, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are powerful, absolutely powerful messages that need to be broken.
Right. Well, and I always say if you can name the game, then you have a choice to whether you want to play it. Because we're being played all the time. But if you go, okay, wait a minute, that's not true. Let me reevaluate that. Like, for example, I've shared the book that I've read about giving up emotional eating. It's we've made excuses and we believe that the thing that's making us miserable is actually pleasurable. And when you really break it down, like it's not. Like, we used to talk about comfort food. Well, let's not call it comfort food. Let's call it uncomfortable food, because you eat it, it goes down well, and then you can't get your pants on. That's uncomfortable. So anyway,
that's good.
Just being honest with ourselves.
No, that's a good analogy, and we want to be real here. But hopefully, folks catch on not only with you, but even with me as the host. Is that we really are about everyone kind of doing better in their health. And again, we're trying to do these shows to bring some information, and again, we're nothing more than normal people that are just learning on the side,
Trying to figure it out.
That's really where we're at. And again, you need to do your own research. You need to be, like I said earlier about this podcast and how I'm interviewing people that are pioneers in their own industry. You need to be a pioneer of your own life.
Yeah.
You need to set off on a journey to discover something maybe that you never thought was possible.
Well, I think when you kind of go, okay, I can be teachable, and you start learning. I just think of, as have gone through the house, and there's certain things that I read labels and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to eat that anymore, or I'm not going to have this. And you close it down. And then there's other things you've conceded. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to give up everything, because I'm by no means am I a purist, and I'll still have desserts and some of those things. That's why I love this balance. You take that before your largest meal or your high carb meal, and it keeps your blood sugar level. Granted, 95% of the time, I'm not taking this to offset a bad diet, but those are gradual things that have come along the way. I think, to me, I've read other books, and they're just so, got to give up all of this, give up all of that. And I'm like, I find myself guarding and protecting that miserable thing that makes me miserable. But as I've taken the time to recognize what that thing is and kind of push away and look at it in reality, then I can go, no, I don't need that. I don't want that.
Yeah, I'm probably absolutely rebellious against the thing that is going to tell me you're going to do it this way no matter what. Yeah. And I'll be like, no, it needs to be part of my life as a natural organic thing that I'm not thinking about. I need to change at the core of who I am, the habits that have been formed from a long time ago, and make new habits. And I don't even want to have to think about it. Like when we got off the river the other day, not telling on anybody, but you guys got an ice cream, and you want ice cream? No, I don't want an ice cream. I'm good. I'm just loading up the boats and doing the thing. And it's just easy for me to do that. Where in years past, it's get a triple. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's just organic for me now. And that's as a testimony, eyewitness to my own life. I would say that's what's happening, is it's just getting so easy to make choices. Yeah,
you just don't want it. Your want to has changed.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing, like this advertisement that I saw. My sister went to Peru, and my niece, and they're sending home pictures of guinea pigs on sticks and all these chickens laying on a table, and I'm thinking, okay, now I can see where this whole food thing, how we think this is good, better food. It's packaged, it's pretty, it's all of that, but there's no nutritional value in it. But they've also kind of gotten us thinking that whole food is gross. It's meat. It's something somebody's killed it or whatever. And I'm just saying, the marketing has been where we don't even realize, we've heard people say, well, I'm just going to go to Walmart to get my meat. Well, yeah, but Walmart processes the animal, or whether it's wild game or, raising your own chickens or your eggs or whatever. We've just kind of demonized, raw milk, chicken eggs and some of those things. And you just got to recognize the marketing behind it.
Right. Well, it's, again, it's so powerful. We don't realize the power of programming in our culture. And it's hard to overcome if you're not thinking about it. If you're not thinking about or you're bringing a recognition to your own mind that they are bombarding you all day long, you kind of just take it. Yeah. And then if you're just taking it, you get into a really bad spot pretty quick. Yeah. And then you start saying, well, I guess this is the way I am the rest of my life. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
I'm going to go over the 5 things I would do if I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Sure. And maybe you just take one of these things at a time. Number 1, cut out all snacks. Snacks are just excess calories. There's no such thing as a healthy snack. Yeah. The number 2, I'd make sure to prioritize protein at every meal. Anytime you do eat, make sure it's quality protein, have your fiber and your healthy fats, and if you're going to have a carb, add that at the end. Number 3, start with resistance training. Start using your muscles. Get out, walk, squats, bends, join a club, whatever you need to do to start building some muscle. And the last one is cut out all the sugar things in the morning. And if you're going to have breakfast, have eggs, some meats, some of those things that actually fuel your body and get your body burning the fat instead of just burning sugar.
Right. And each one of those things could be considered, and I use the word border wall, around, you're creating borders. You're creating ways to make decisions and have pre-made your decision before you get into a situation, right? So you're creating ways to help you navigate and create the new habits. And I like that a lot. I really like that a lot. So, well, as we close down the show today, again, I hope that was helpful about diabetes. If you want to do a little research on your own, you can do a search on diabetes 2026 and the statistics will blow you away. But really there's an answer, there's a solution. And again, you might choose another solution and that'd be just fine. It's whatever you want to research, but I encourage you to kind of step out and really kind of be a pioneer of your own life, be your own best advocate for everything in terms of work, health, all those things. And again, I always try to end the show with this idea of us, we can kind of move forward on our own. We don't need folks to kind of third-party people to tell us how to live. We can kind of learn how to do that on our own. I want to encourage you to create something, read books. Again, I did a podcast a few weeks back on books, and that actually got quite a bit of play. And I was just shocked at how many people that I'd asked if they'd read a book. And no, I haven't read a book since high school. I've read one book. I've read no books. And I really believe that if you're not reading and studying, you're kind of functionally dumb. You're set in a situation where you can't move forward. And, I just want to encourage you to just learn an instrument, learn a language. All those kind of things are important for your own life to kind of grow and have a good life. And the health is just one slice of that pie. As I talked about earlier, there's slices of the pie, but our mind, our body, our spirit, our friendships, relationships, our marriage, all those things are slices of the pies of our life, and health is one. And if you don't have your health, you're really going to be in a tough situation. Everything else will be affected by it. So you're in charge of your own body, and I encourage you to be your own best advocate and get a hold of Kathy about the Unicity Feel Great program if you want to give it a try and learn more about it. You have the sheet is in here. I can maybe put it up real quick again, and you can just call her at that number, follow the QR code, reach out to her at any time. She would love to talk to you, and you might even be begging to get off the phone because she will really encourage you and challenge you, and hopefully this helps. So anyway, so as we close down today, thanks for joining the show. Please subscribe and like. It really helps the show. And as we keep doing this each week, we're going to bring different subjects, and if you subscribe and you like, you'll be notified. I think you'll be notified. You might have to hit a notification bell, but you'll be notified when these new ones come up. And again, we're wanting to be encouraging and help people grow and mature and have good health. So thanks for joining us. We're just so grateful and appreciate it. And have a great weekend, everybody.